So, okay, we have time to move to the next sutta. Majjhima Nikaya 120, Sankharupapatti Sutta. Sankharupapatti Sutta. Here it says reappearance by aspiration. This Sankharupapatti consists of two words, Sankhara and Upapatti. Sankhara means volition or intention, and Upapatti means rebirth. So another translation is rebirth by volition, taking rebirth, where you want to be reborn according to your volition or intention. Thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anatha Pindika's park. There he addressed the monks thus, "Monks, Venerable Sir," they replied. The Blessed One said, "Monks, I shall teach you reappearance or rebirth in accordance with one's aspiration. Listen and attend closely to what I shall say." "Yes, Venerable Sir," the monks replied. The Blessed One said, "Hear, monks, a monk possesses faith, virtue, learning, generosity and wisdom. He thinks, oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, I might reappear in the company of well-to-do nobles. He fixes his mind on that, establishes it, develops it. These aspirations and this abiding of his, thus developed and cultivated, lead to his reappearance or rebirth there. This, monks, is the path, the way that leads to reappearance there. Again, the monk possesses faith, etc. He thinks, oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, might reappear in the company of well-to-do Brahmins, or in the company of well-to-do householders. He fixes his mind on that. This, monks, is the path, the way that leads to reappearance there." Stop here for a moment. Here the Buddha is talking about if someone wants to be reborn as a high caste human being. In India they have 4 castes. The first 3 are considered quite high caste. One is the nobles, warrior caste. Second is the Brahmin caste. And the third is the merchant class. Here is his householders. So if you want to be reborn in this high caste human birth, the Buddha says these few things are necessary: faith, virtue, learning, generosity and wisdom. Out of these 5 things mentioned here, when we refer to the previous suttas we have read, the Buddha has said that if 2 persons want to be reborn in the same place, 4 things must be the same. Faith is one, virtue is another, virtue or lack of virtue, and then generosity and wisdom. So here the Buddha has added one more, is learning. Learning is knowledge of the Dhamma, much learning. So these 5 qualities. Also in some other sutta, the Buddha said that we want to repay our parents' kindness. We should teach them 4 things. One, to bring them to have faith in the triple gem, Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. The second one is teach them to cultivate virtue or moral conduct. The third is teach them to be generous and like to be generous. And then the fourth, teach them to have wisdom by exposing them to the Dhamma. So the Buddha says, if we teach our parents these 4 things, then we repay our parents' kindness, which is very hard to repay. In fact, the Buddha says, if you teach them these 4 things, then you more than repay your parents' kindness. So those are the 4 things, but here the Buddha adds one more, much learning of the Dhamma. So if we have these 5 qualities, then we want to have a good human rebirth, we can have in the next life. Again, a monk possesses faith, virtue, learning, generosity and wisdom. He hears that the gods of the heaven of the 4 great kings. Stop here for a moment. There is a sutta I forgot to mention, I think in the Anguttara Nikaya, where the Buddha says that 2 things are basic for rebirth back as a human being. One is charity or generosity, the other one is moral conduct or virtue. And the Buddha mentioned in that sutta that if a person develops these 2 things, generosity and moral conduct to a very low degree, it's very likely that he comes back as a human being in the next birth, but with very little luck, not under good circumstances. And if he develops these two things, generosity and moral conduct, to a medium degree, very likely he will come back as a human being with much luck, under very favorable circumstances. He'll be born, for example, with a healthy body, looking good, and in a rich family, and he can make his fortune very easily. And then these two things, if he develops it to a high degree, generosity and moral conduct, then it's very likely that he will be reborn in heaven, the Buddha says. In other words, if a person does not develop generosity and this moral conduct, like a lot of humans don't do, then they have no chance of coming back as a human being or going to heaven. They'll be born in the woeful plains of rebirth. Okay, come back to this paragraph 6. Again, a monk possesses faith, virtue, learning, generosity and wisdom. He hears that the gods of the heaven of the four great kings are long-lived, beautiful and enjoy great happiness. He thinks, oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, I might reappear in the company of the gods of the heaven of the four great kings. He fixes his mind on that. This, monks, is the path, the way that leads to reappearance there. Again, a monk possesses faith, etc. He hears that the gods of the heaven of the 33, or the Yama gods, or the gods of the Tusita heaven, or the gods who delight in creating, or the gods who wield power over others' creations, are long-lived, beautiful, and enjoy great happiness. He thinks, oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, I might reappear in the company of those gods. He fixes his mind on that. This, monks, is the path that leads. This is the path, the way that leads to reappearance there. So here, the Buddha is talking about taking rebirth in the sixth sensual desire realm. Every world system, there are three realms. The sensual desire realm, and then above that is the form realm, and above that is the formless realm. So in the sensual desire realm, all beings are dominated by sensual lust. So you have male and female beings. So there are 6 heavens there, and the Buddha says, if a person has these 5 qualities, and he aspires to be reborn in those heavens, he can, referring back to the last sutta I mentioned, that a person who wants to be reborn as a human or a heavenly being needs to develop this generosity and moral conduct. So if that same person wants to be reborn in the heavens, then he has to practice these two to a high degree, generosity and moral conduct. Again, a monk possesses faith, etc. He hears that the Brahma of 1,000 is long-lived, beautiful, and enjoys great happiness. Now the Brahma of 1,000 abides intent on pervading a world system of 1,000 worlds, and he abides intent on pervading the beings that have reappeared there. Just as a man with good sight might take a gall nut in his hand and review it, so the Brahma of 1,000 abides intent on pervading a world system of 1,000 worlds, and he abides intent on pervading the beings that have reappeared there. The monk thinks, oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, I might reappear in the company of the Brahma of 1,000. He fixes his mind on that. This, monks, is the path, the way that leads to reappearance there. Again, the monk possesses faith, etc. He hears that the Brahma of 2,000, the Brahma of 3,000, the Brahma of 4,000, the Brahma of 5,000 is long-lived, beautiful, and enjoys great happiness. Now the Brahma of 5,000 abides intent on pervading a world system of 5,000 worlds, and he abides intent on pervading the beings that have reappeared there. Just as a man with good sight might take 5 gall nuts in his hand and review them, so the Brahma of 5,000 abides intent on pervading a world system of 5,000 worlds, and he abides intent on pervading the beings that have reappeared there. The monk thinks, Oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, I might reappear in the company of the Brahma of 5,000. He fixes his mind on that. This, monks, is the path, the way that leads to reappearance there. Again, the monk possesses faith, etc. He hears that the Brahma of 10,000 is long-lived, beautiful, and enjoys great happiness. Now the Brahma of 10,000 abides intent on pervading a world system of 10,000 worlds, and he abides intent on pervading the beings that have reappeared there. Just as a fine beryl gem of purest water, 8-faceted, well-cut, lying on red brocade, glows, radiates, and shines. So the Brahma of 10,000 abides intent on pervading a world system of 10,000 worlds, and he abides intent on pervading the beings that have reappeared there. The monk thinks, oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death might reappear in the company of the Brahma of 10,000. He fixes his mind on that. This, monks, is the path, the way that leads to reappearance there. Again, the monk possesses faith, etc. He hears that the Brahma of 100,000 is long-lived, beautiful, and enjoys great happiness. Now the Brahma of 100,000 abides intent on pervading a world system of 100,000 worlds, and he abides intent on pervading the beings that have reappeared there. Just as an ornament of finest gold, very skillfully wrought in the furnace by a clever goldsmith, lying on red brocade, glows, radiates, and shines. So the Brahma of 100,000 abides intent on pervading a world system of 100,000 worlds, and he abides intent on pervading the beings that have reappeared there. The monk thinks, oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, I might reappear in the company of the Brahma of 100,000. He fixes his mind on that. This, monks, is the path, the way that leads to reappearance there. Stop here for a moment. So here the Buddha is talking about the Brahma, the Brahma heaven. These Brahmas, they are beings in the lowest form realm. Just now I mentioned that the form realm is higher than the sensual desire realm. And generally, for a being to be reborn in the form realm, you have to attain the form or rupa jhana. You have to attain the rupa jhana, form jhana. And there are four stages, 4 levels of this jhana. First jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana. So Brahma is in the lowest, the first jhana. So one of the necessary conditions to be reborn as Brahma, I would assume that a person must have attained the first jhana, besides having the faith and generosity and wisdom and all that. So the other thing is, as mentioned here, these Brahmas, they are beings of light. They are just like a ball of light, like the sun. But surprisingly, the brightness is much brighter than our sun. So here it talks about world system. The Buddha says every sun is one world system. Every sun. So every sun, every star that we see in the sky, there's a possibility that there are humans there. So the thing is so far away, we still haven't found that out. So the lowest Brahma, his light is so powerful, it can shine to 1,000 stars, can pervade, can go as far as 1,000 stars, 1,000 world systems are lighted up by this Brahma of 1,000. And the most powerful is a Brahma of 100,000. This Brahma of 100,000, his light is so powerful, it can reach 100,000 world systems, 100,000 stars. So those who have brighter light, I guess when they were human beings, they developed the first jhana to a higher degree. One thing, there's one sutta, the Buddha says that these heavenly beings, their psychic powers were not obtained in heaven. The psychic powers were all obtained on the human realm. So if you want to be a deva with a lot of powerful psychic power, then you have to work very hard now as a human being. This here is where we do the work, and then we are reborn in that heaven, having all that kind of psychic power, that bright light and all that. One thing about this, here you find the Buddha talks about the Brahma, and later books they talk about the Maha Brahma, and then they talk about the ministers of Brahma. Purohita Brahma. And then they also talk about Brahma's retinue, Parisaja Brahma. But here the Buddha does not mention about these Brahmas being divided into 3 levels. The only difference is the brightness. Okay, again a monk possesses faith, etc., virtue, etc. He hears that the gods of radiance, the gods of limited radiance, the gods of immeasurable radiance, the gods of streaming radiance, the gods of glory, the gods of limited glory, the gods of immeasurable glory, the gods of refulgent glory, the gods of great fruit, the Aviha gods, the Atapa gods, the Sudasa gods, the Sudasi gods, the Akanita gods are long-lived, beautiful and enjoy great happiness. He thinks, oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death, I might reappear in the company of the gods. He fixes his mind on that. This, monks, is the path, the way that leads to reappearance there. I'll stop here for a moment now. So here, the Buddha is talking about the 2nd jhana heaven, the 3rd jhana heaven, and the 4th jhana heaven. The 2nd jhana heaven is called the Abhasara, the gods of radiance. Radiance here is a translation for Abhasara. And here is mentioned that these gods of radiance, there are 3 levels. You have the limited radiance, the immeasurable radiance, and the streaming radiance. So this 2nd jhana heaven, there are 3 levels. And the 3rd jhana heaven is the gods of glory. Gods of limited, there are 3 levels. Limited glory, immeasurable glory, and refulgent glory. So the 3rd jhana heaven, there are 3 levels. And then the 4th jhana heaven begins with these gods of great fruit. It's called the Vihappala heavens, Vihappala, gods of great fruit. Then after that, there are 5, the Aviha, Atapa, Sudasa, Sudasi, and Akanita. These 5 belong to what is called the Sudavasa, pure abodes. This Sudavasa, only Anagamins are reborn there. If you are not an Anagamin, you cannot be reborn in these 5 heavens. So, that means there are not many gods there. It's hard to be reborn there. And if you are reborn there, you after that, when you pass away, there are 5. Why are there 5 levels there? Because there are some of them, they're born in the lower level of these 5. After they pass away, they go to a higher level. After they pass away, they go to a higher. So some of them, they pass to 5 heavens before they enter Nibbana. Some they pass to 4 heavens and they enter Nibbana. Some 3 heavens, some 2, some 1, and then they enter Nibbana. So these are the pure abodes that only Anagamins are reborn. And also, I like to mention here, later books, like commentaries and all that, they added this asanya satta, the beings without perception. That means they only have a body, but no perception and no consciousness. The commentaries and other books, they put them in this 4th jhana heaven. These beings, asanya satta, are mentioned by the Buddha in certain suttas. But the Buddha did not mention which level of heaven they are in. But it is possible that they might be in the 4th jhana heaven. Again, the monk possesses faith, virtue, etc. He hears that the gods of the base of infinite space, the gods of the base of infinite consciousness, the gods of the base of nothingness, the gods of the base of neither perception nor non-perception are long-lived, long-enduring, and enjoy great happiness. He thinks, oh, that on the dissolution of the body after death might reappear in the company of the gods of the base of whatever. He fixes his mind on that, establishes it and develops it. These aspirations and this abiding of his, thus developed and cultivated, lead to his reappearance there. This, monks, is the path, the way that leads to reappearance there. Stop here for a moment. So this is talking about the 4 levels of the formless realm. The formless realm, you can only be reborn there if you have attained the formless jhanas, arupas. In the suttas they are called arupas. In the Visuddhimagga they call them arupa jhanas. So So this, you have to attain this, these meditations, these arupas, where the mind opens up, becomes a boundless space, or boundless consciousness, or nothingness, or neither perception or non-perception. Then only you can be reborn there. Again, the monk possesses faith, virtue, learning, generosity, and wisdom. He thinks, oh, that by realizing for myself with direct knowledge, I might here and now enter upon and abide in the liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. And by realizing for himself with direct knowledge, he here and now enters upon and abides in the liberation by mind and liberation by wisdom that are taintless with the destruction of the taints. Monks, this monk does not reappear anywhere at all. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words. So this last part is the monk who aspires to attain Nibbana, and then he attains liberation by mind or liberation by wisdom, and so he attains Nibbana. But here the Buddha says he does not reappear anywhere at all, because Nibbana is the state where the six consciousnesses stop. A normal living being would have these six consciousness, the eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose, tongue, body, mind consciousness. But in the state of parinibbana, after the Arahant passes away, these six consciousness stops. And because the Arahant has finished his work. Unlike what the Mahayana books say, the Arahant has not finished his work. It's completely contradictory to the early suttas. So this sutta, the Buddha only mentions that if you have faith, learning, virtue, generosity and wisdom, you can aspire, make the wish to be reborn in all these good states. But the Buddha didn't say that there are other conditions, that you must attain all these jhanas and rupa jhanas and all that, besides having these five conditions. Okay, I think we stop here for tonight. It depends. If you want to chant the 32 parts of the body, you can rearrange them anywhere, any order you want. But they have been put in this order because the first half of it, roughly, are the earth element, the harder parts of the body, and the second half are all the liquids. You see, like bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tear, grease, spittle, snot, all of the joint, oil of the joint, urine. This refers to the liquid part. Can we end here? There's no more question.